Welcome to another edition of RSG, One Mic. The title of our show tonight, Ain't No Half Steppin'. You know, so it's for you Big Daddy Kane folks. You know what I'm talking about. But we'll get into that. That'll be the theme of our cipher, and we'll be talking about it in about 15 minutes. Before I move on, you know, I got to bring the fellas in. So for those of you who don't know about us, I wanted to introduce my co-host here. Let me start with my man Hank. He's like the pick and roll. He's the Carmelo of the group. He just finishes at the rim. Every once in a while, he'll throw that fade away.
Hey, not much, man. How you doing? Hope all is well.
Yeah.
We all love you. Like you said, see, I'm old school. See, I like to get physical in the paint. I might drop a bowl here. I might stick my butt right in your chest before I go up, okay? That's the way we used to play back in the day, and all that was good physical ball. I want to take an opportunity right now to hope that all the folks out there, you know, were able to surpass tax day and get what they need from the government, whatever that is. And in the upcoming week, I want to wish you all a very, very happy Easter weekend, and hope that you all are blessed and stay blessed.
All right, y'all. Well, we got the youngin' in the group. This is a cat. He's learned how he's fading. He's hitting that corner. He's hitting that corner jumper all the time. Before he was about 0 for 3. He was like one of them cats where they rotate the defense away from him. But now he's knocking it down. He's getting strong with the rotation. We got my man Darnell Kirkland.
It's that playoff season, like not Dean Smith, the Roy Williams would say, I'm open for a reason. But I'm happy. I'm happy the playoffs is here. The best time of the year. We got playoff basketball. One of my favorite players is in it right now, Patrick Beverly. He's doing it, putting on for old 90s basketball. He's hand checking, doing all that kind of stuff. I'm glad the refs is letting him play. So
those are great points about Tiger in terms of his pace and some of the other things. Also, the youngin saying that he didn't even watch golf. But now it brings back into play, can he catch Jack?
That's Jack that be at the Lakers games?
What'd you say?
Jack Nicholson. You be quiet, okay?
Oh,
you don't say nothing to nobody.
We about to put you. I just gave.
Don't tell nobody you just said that.
We about to bring
Don't you tell nobody you just said that.
We about to bring you back to super intern status. We just took it off you.
Hurry up and tell you. Go on. You need to take a lap on that one.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Tell nobody you said that.
Oh my goodness. So you know, part of it is catching Jack with the 18 majors. And so he's sitting at what, 14 is it?
Yeah.
14.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because you had a couple people beforehand. I was like, okay, I watched him play last year. He had some good challenges in some of the majors. I thought his first major he was going to win. When we talked about this, I thought it was going to be a British Open. And part of it just being away from the States. Sometimes it's like a bunker mentality you can have when you're internationally. But the next two, I think, are at places where he's much more comfortable, even more so as, you know, than he is in Augusta. And so, you know, if he gets one more this year, let's say, he's sitting there right now, he's sixth in the world. So he moved up to 6th in the world in the rankings. And he doesn't look like he's losing any steam. And so, and what was different about this is he was playing these guys at the top of their game. It wasn't like they were slipping. Like these guys were playing at the level they were playing, and he went to another level. But the thing about it was the Tiger roar. Like they heard the Tiger roar, but not a Tiger roar when they know he got a chance to really, really win. And the way those young cats, and you know, even the processional going, like after he hugged his kids and did everything else, and then, you know, all the young guys and like the generational people who were happy for him, those young guys for the first time really understood what it meant to play Tiger at the top of his game. That's going to be interesting to figure out what it's going to be like when he goes to PGA Championship and be in that space, knowing that he's a serious competitor. And so do you feel like he can get to 18 or can he surpass it? He's sitting at 43 years old.
Oh, listen, let me tell you something. One thing about being 43 years old and playing golf is you can consider that prime.
Yep.
For a lot of players. You can consider that prime for a lot of players. You got some golfers that's well up into their 50s, 60s and still playing, top-notch golf. A lot of them. The thing about Tiger now was his health, his injuries, okay? And which can also really start to hurt your confidence, all right? This right here, what we saw was a new Tiger. Okay, we didn't see him trying to just blow the doors off of his drives and do all these different things. What we saw, you heard me use the word tactical, okay, where he attacked the golf course differently, okay? When you remember when he first started out, you heard where you would have some golf courses, what they call tiger-proof the course.
Yeah.
Because he was just such a powerful driver and everything that they had to do certain things to make it almost a handicap for the other golfers. Now he's doing like what cagey veterans do. He's starting to play to his strengths as they are right now. He's still a very smart golfer. And so what that does is, I keep on bringing up that back nine, to keep on bringing up where you saw the young golfers trying to really overpower the course.
And in closing on that segment, I think to build on what you said, one of the real important things that we watched in this Masters tournament was his ease with the crowd and surroundings, which I think makes him even more dangerous. And the fact that the way in which he's so comfortable in his own skin and enjoying the ride with the fans in ways that were distracting sometimes, that have allowed him to relax. Right. And just that little subtlety in a way that these other guys are going to feel energy is actually going to be a psychological advantage to him. He's up there tipping his hat, doing this other stuff where, these other guys are going to start to tighten up a little bit, where he's like, I'm playing with, I couldn't walk for 3 years ago or 2 years ago. I'm playing with the house money. So he's walking with it. He's like, I'm a joy at this time. Right. And that makes him even more dangerous in the way that he sees these pressure moments, that some of these young players, even though they're great players and they've won multiple majors, have never experienced the kind of stuff that he's had to experience, where this is just, it's like being in a big pay-per-view fight. He been in big pay-per-view events. He's been through the whole press thing. None of this stuff is going to shake him. In fact, he's going to enjoy it in a way that you never would imagine that he would have been able to enjoy it. So we'll keep
one thing before we close this segment. I do want to bring this up because you made a point that struck a chord with me. When Tiger Woods first hit the scene, right, and he was winning all of these majors back to back, what was the one knock that the other golfers were saying? They were talking about the rock star persona that followed him, the large galleries and these sort of things, okay? Now, we haven't really seen that much of this because he's not been the Tiger Woods that he's been, but now he's going to be the Tiger Woods that just won the Masters, okay? All these other golfers that was used to a certain decorum, if you will, on the course, that's going to change now. Because Tiger Woods and the rock star persona that once was is now back. He's going to be able to embrace it. We're going to see what that does to the games of these other players.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. And I think part of it was also even locker room decorum, where he wasn't talking to people, or he had this stoic where he's much more interacting with people in the locker room, and he's much more engaging in this. So even with the big galleries, his interaction with the other players and being in his group is much more enjoyable because he's playing with the house money, which again makes him, he's not going to be the guy in the locker room all stoic and everything else. He's going to enjoy it this time. He's going to be at ease. And so I think that you wish he would probably go back to what he was going to behave, but he's not going to do that. Now that's going to be a fun run to look at.
Right.
Hey, we've been out a little bit, but it's about a week or so after Magic calls it quits. One of the things we're saying, okay, what do we know? What's next for the Lakers? Even though it's the playoff, the Lakers are still dominating the press, the press a little bit at the NBA. What's the next move? Right now we have Rob Pelinka, former Michigan everybody wants to connect him with the Fab Five, but he also played with the national championship team with Glenn Rice and those guys, and was on that squad. And he's being characterized in a lot of different ways in terms of why Magic left. It sounds like Magic wanted to also get rid of him. They end up eventually getting rid of Luke Walton. Luke ends up in Sacramento. One of the crazy moves, because this was a guy that was probably on the list to be vice president for operations or being considered, was David Griffin, who was the former Cavaliers coach, is now the New Orleans coach. New Orleans vice president for operations, and he's an excellent GM, and is already talking about having conversations regarding, Anthony Davis. He has a good relationship with Rich Paul and Clutch Sports. Has experience building championship teams and working with stars. So in less than a week, things have turned, almost kind of like what's happening on our national stage with the Mueller report, the Mueller report. Things have changed quickly over a week. Let's start with you, Darnell, since you don't watch golf, so let's kind of bring you back in. Talk to us. What's your thought about what's happening in Lakerland with some of these moves that's happening around it? Obviously, the two franchise most hit were New Orleans and the Lakers, given what transpired or didn't transpire with Anthony Davis, and kind of after that, everything's kind of crumbled. What's your thought with what's happening with the Lakers and what's the debacle that's become Tinseltown? With
the Lakers, it's a dumpster fire. That's what I got to say about that. It's going bad. It's going bad quickly. First of all, before I get to the Lakers, I'm going to go to Magic Johnson.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
How do you quit your job and not tell nobody? He said he quit he had a press conference saying that he was stepping down. He was like, I couldn't tell Jeannie because, he didn't have the heart to tell her. That's something else. But
he said she would talk me back. She would talk me back into doing the job, and he obviously didn't want to do the job. Now you could say, what's the reasoning behind that? Things are. People speculated about the fact the line was really when he wanted to get rid of Pelinka. I think she was okay with the Walton decision, but he was mad at Pelinka's decision. Was allegedly been said, right, is that he got wind that Pelinka was saying things about him behind his back when he was there, because it was played out like he was the absentee vice president,
which he was.
That's what I'm saying. Magic is Magic. Magic ain't trying to be like. I was listening to what's this guy? Your boy Wright, who's on Fox.
Nick Wright.
Yeah, Nick. I listen to his show. He's on. He also has a radio show. And he said he called Daryl Morey. You know what Daryl Morey? Daryl Morey was like in the Eastern Bloc country, trying to get a guy who he drafted 6 years ago to come over to Houston. Is Magic doing that?
You can't be a celebrity. It's hard to be a celebrity in chief.
You can't do that. And so you right. And so there's a bit of truth in all of this, right? So I think that was a good point that you pointed out. And so how can you quit your job right on the point? Magic might have been looking for that way out.
Yeah, I wonder what LeBron thinking about it.
Huh?
I said, I wonder what LeBron's thinking about it.
He wasn't thinking about LeBron. He thinking about getting back to them Starbucks and all that other stuff he took, all that money he was making. Hank, when the decision was made, what was your thoughts, man?
I was shocked that he did that. Okay, that he just up and quit. And I was trying to listen to the narrative behind it. I don't think that and my opinion is, I don't think that the relationship between him and Jeannie Buss is what people think it is.
Yeah, okay? I'm thinking that too.
I don't. I think that there was a lot of decisions that Magic may have wanted to make that I think were overruled. I'm hearing rumors that he did not want to draft Lonzo Ball, okay? And Jeannie overruled him. Same thing with Rob Pelinka, and she was okay with Luke Walton being gone. That being said, I think what you had with Magic Johnson, and you just have to look at the totality of Magic Johnson in that quote unquote sports executive role. okay? He is a figurehead, okay? He's not going to make those decisions that's going to get your franchise over the top. Jeannie Buss knew this. I believe Jeannie Buss knew this. And so he just up and quit because it's just clear to him that I'm not making any decisions. I want to make decisions with this franchise, and I'm being overruled at every turn. And so at some point, your ego is going to get to you a little bit. And he was probably told to him in a way that you're Magic Johnson, okay, you're here in name only, okay? Don't sit here and start trying to be something that you're not.
It's interesting. You know, the Rob Pelinka thing is interesting. And you know, they asked, I know Stephen A asked Jalen Rose, because Jalen knows both Magic and Rob. And when you listen to Jalen closely, it's validating a lot of stuff you're saying, Hank. And people got to understand, it's crazy how they've cast Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka's smart.
Very smart.
And
yes.
Rob Pelinka knows basketball. I didn't believe Rob Pelinka's dad was a coach. Rob knows basketball. Rob is Bob Myers was an agent type. I saw Bob out at Maui. You know, I'm always got to stun a little bit. And, you know, Bob played basketball. Bob was on the agent side. Bob's savvy. You know, Bob probably didn't come with the same reputation in the agent community that Rob is, but Rob is a straight killer. You know, when it comes to like getting deals done, but Rob's smart as all can be. So the one thing I think Jeannie realized really quickly is Rob's smart. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lot of decisions made with this team that Rob probably wasn't fully on. And I think this is where I think the Kobe influence is probably coming back in, is that we can't sell the whole ship just for LeBron. We're going to try and build a championship team, but we're not going to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater. I think Rob probably had to, and it will probably come out, the biggest issue with moving all these young guys, when these young guys are guys you can build on. And to give them all away for some cats that, you know, we're going to come out of this thing and even be worse off. We got to figure out how to win a championship with some of these young guys on the roster still being able to bridge past the championship. Because you only got 3 seasons with LeBron. You got to build this, you know, a person like Pelinka and some of the stuff Jeannie's doing, she's trying to build a run over the next 15 years. And so,
they should, yeah.
Which they could, you know, and so I think it's interesting how Rob is being cast in this when this is a guy that's highly educated, who knows basketball. Nobody's ever challenged his understanding of basketball. Rob understands a lot of, I mean, if people do your homework on him, Rob knows basketball, like real X and O basketball. He's not like he's just a cat who don't know X and O basketball. And so to me, it's interesting that watch how this evolves. Watch how the narrative on Pelinka, if she does not replace him or have a VP for operations, what would be a great scenario for someone like Rob Pelinka, if it could be managed, is to somehow get Jerry West to come home for the Lakers and mentor Rob, along with Jerry West's son is there. And I think if Rob, I think Jeannie is smart enough to see somebody who's smart enough to move something. And if Rob gets through this draft and Rob can make some deals. As much as that people say that folks might not like him, Rob knows players and Rob knows enough about things to get guys to come in. He might get a free agent you might not think he can get. And I think if he's able to do that over this next offseason, you can see where she might be investing her time. So I think people are playing Rob in ways that there are going to be some apologies in 2 years. I'm not a big Laker fan. I'm a Pelinka fan, though. Pelinka's smart. We're going to go on to this. And this is going to bring you back in, youngin. Bud is next. Vasily Lomachenko fought last week, did his thing. It made his case for pound for pound. Now Terrence Bud Crawford is going to be going up against Amir King Khan. Give us a little thought, man. I know we're going to try and do a show on it, but you know, I thought it was a crossover. It was an opportunity for us to cross over the audiences. You know, what do you see? I was just watching this fight against Benavidez Jr. And I saw some things. Crawford was getting hit a little too much more early in that fight than I'd like to see him hit, particularly with somebody like Amir Khan, who's got a lot of quickness and more athleticism. Benavidez Jr. still, he got shot in that leg and he wasn't moving around like he was, but he was gamely until he got crushed in the 12th. But give me your sense of this fight.
Well, first of all, Jose Benavidez and Amir Khan are two completely different fighters with completely different styles. Amir Khan, he's a very fast fighter, but he's a very stiff fighter. He's not slick at all. And Jose Benavidez is a counterpuncher. So he'll stand up there with his hands down and stuff like that. But he's 6'1". He's real tall for his division, and he has long arms. So he pretty much wants you to throw and wait so he can hit you on the back end. So that's why you're seeing Benavidez hit Crawford, because Crawford is a guy that's willing to engage. But Amir Khan, he's going to do good for the first 3 or 4 rounds, and then it's all going to change. So that's because it's the same thing, because he's a guy like Henkel enjoyed this. It's a pitching analogy I have for you, because he's the fastball pitcher. He throws 97 miles an hour, but he's throwing it right in your wheelhouse every time. So as soon as you adjust to that timing, it's good night. So that's what it's going to be for Amir Khan. Amir Khan said if he loses to Crawford, he might as well stop boxing, and he might as well sign the retirement papers today. But as far as Lomachenko stating his pound for pound case, I don't think he if we're talking about pound for pound, that fight should not be mentioned, because he fought a Toyota Corolla that was in park.
I knew you weren't gonna give him no love. I knew you weren't gonna give him no love, man.
He's in the same spot. He has no game plan. I still don't know what his coach was saying. His game plan was to stand here. He tested Lomachenko all right. He gave him a good test. He tested how much power he has. Can he knock me out? How fast? Oh man.
Well, we were looking for that fight. We're gonna have a boxing moment with myself and Darnell here pretty quickly before the fight, and we'll get more details about that and other boxing matches coming up. So we're about to get into the cipher. Ain't no half stepping, because the playoffs is not about half stepping. We don't have an upset up early on. Stuff has got hot. Folks elbowing, chokes in the chin, laughing at press conferences. We're gonna hit it all right now. But we're gonna start out with, I'm a Wire fan. My name is my name. KD was like, my name is Kevin Durant. Y'all know who I am. Y'all know who I am. And the reason
we didn't know who he was last game. Game 2, I didn't know who KD was.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, why was that happen? Is the resident NBA playoff pest, Patrick Beverly. Patrick is coming up in like, we want easy. He gonna come. He bringing it hard at you, all up under him, coming hard. He not giving everything up. It's been an interesting series watching those guys battle. When you think about the Clippers and how hard they play, Doc Rivers has got these cats going at it, and it's been amazing to kind of watch what he's done this year with this team. But when you have cats like Patrick Beverly who got that just straight up don't give back. But what do you make about what KD's doing? What do you make about his mindset? What do you think Golden State is? Because, obviously Cousins goes out in the first, which you breaks your heart, because this cat walked all the way back and played like 10 minutes, and then he was out of the playoffs. What do you make about KD and what he's been saying, and what's been happening between him and Beverly? Hank, let me start out with you, and then I'll come back to Darnell.
You know what? I don't think that they're taking this team seriously. And I think they will now, because he called him a pest and he's all underneath him and stuff. But that being said, if you watch game 2, Steph was going off in the first half, and I probably, half of the NBA fans turned that game off when they went up by 31 points to find out that they lost the game. Okay. The Clippers have to play like that. They have to play like that. They're overmatched, okay? And I'm with you with Boogie Cousins. That was unfortunate. He's going down the floor. He's been trying to play
on a hustle play too,
on
man.
On a hustle play. and down goes Frazier. I
Well,
feel
both
bad for
times
him.
he got hurt was like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate. You know, and they're saying that perhaps if they get to the finals, that he might get a chance to come back. I hope so, but I don't know, because see, to me, there's something psychological about losing the game at home by 31 points. All right, for both teams. Number one, for the Clippers, we're getting under your skin, right? We're getting under KD's skin. He's trying to laugh it off, but clearly Patrick Beverly is getting under his skin. He ain't got off, right? Secondly, you done lost a game at the house. You lost, home court already, and you were blowing his teams out. Now they're gonna tell you in the media, well, we just let our foot off the gas too early. But see, this is what I talk about with these championship teams, okay? With these teams that play late into the playoffs year after year after year. There's no sense of urgency. There's no more big games, okay? You go up by 31 points, and now you thinking about shopping at Walmart, but it's still in the third quarter. And this is exactly what happened here. And like you said, Doc has got these guys saying, hey, they put their pants on just like you do.
That's
okay?
right.
If they don't want to come play, you come play. They back at our place now. All right. Let's see if they can dial it up. See, you get to this point where you think you can flip a switch when you feel like it. And I'm telling you right now, I'm one that's calling out the warning flag, okay, the warning signs for the Golden State Warriors. Okay. Two things happened to them in that game that's going to impact them in this playoffs. Okay, it started with Boogie Cousins, but it started with a 31-point lead that got dissipated into a loss. Watch how they come out. If they come out sluggish in Game 3, we're in for a series, and they cannot go. The Golden State Warriors cannot go deep in the series with teams this year. Psychologically, they will not be able to hold up. I'm telling you, they got to get rid of teams fast and quick. Otherwise, they're uptight.
I think, you hit it right on the thing. One of the issues they got going on, and this is where KD situation is awkward, is these teams are basically laying off of Draymond and a couple other guys. I mean, they're basically focusing on 3 shooters on the court or 2 shooters on the court. The other 2 are going to basically have to beat them. And, I mean, people have religiously been going with this defensive approach to them. And the one thing Boogie gave you is a big guy who can actually knock down threes.
Right.
So he adds a whole nother dimension, and he could pass. So if you come run at him, he could dribble one-way pass and open the game up a little bit and even help Draymond get off a little bit. So you're right. And he gave him a sense of something. I think the interpersonal interactions, when you've been together on these kind of runs for this long, at some point you just get tired of each other.
You do. Yes.
And I think that the love and I tell you this, when Bob Myers said that stuff, and he said that stuff about KD at the celebration, kind of like just joking, but it wasn't quite joking. KD too sensitive. I saw a look on his face, and you could see it on Steph, like, why'd y'all even say that? And I think that was a bigger moment than people make out to be.
Mm-hmm.
In this public space where you're supposed to be celebrating, he finally felt part of the team, and that comment came out. And that wasn't what Bob meant, but you could see the look on KD's face was like his whole demeanor changed. And so Lou Williams ain't messing around. They playing for keeps. These junkyard dogs over here. They the passion. They coach how he played. Darnell, what's your thought on this before we move on?
I think KD, the way he played is in pretty much how Hank was saying, like, nonchalant. He was a guy that was trying to let the game come to him because he has a guy. But in my opinion, that's the wrong move because you have a guy that's 6'1" guarding you. Even though he's in your chest, he's denying you the ball. But in my opinion, what you should do is they should just put him on the block, and they have to double. And if you don't double, it's 2 points. So I'm looking out for this game to see if they really do it. But this game really made that last game really made me feel good because I was on Twitter during the game, and everybody is laughing, talking junk about the Clippers. They're like, oh, they're down by 30. and they're still playing hard. Why is Patrick Beverly over here doing all these antics and they're down by 30? And I was like, okay. I'm like, because I'm from the school that you play hard until the game is over.
That's right.
It doesn't matter if you're down by 5, you're down by 25. You play hard. And it paid off for him because you know how it is. You up by you at the gym, you up by the score, you playing the 12, or you up 10-2, and you start messing around, and then they hit 2 twos back to back, and you're just like, oh man.
My other thing here, we're in the cipher. Here's RSG one mic. Ain't no half stepping. We gotta say this: Dame Dollar is dropping bars, and Russ is about to go NWA. I'm gonna take them two right now. That is the
best TV this playoff season. So by none.
My goodness, Portland and go on, Hank. Go on, Hank.
I'm loving that, man. That is so. They are so old school to me, man. I'm sitting there like, let's get your popcorn ready. All right. I mean, I don't know if you saw the play before Westbrook was trying to call timeout, and Damon pushed him, and then he gave him this look like, get up. I want to see these cats go 7. I want to see OKC come back. I want to see them go 7 because just for the theater, okay? Because you running up and down the court with somebody for 7 games, and you get into a 7th game, man. That's old school basketball.
Darnell, you feel that same energy? I know I am.
I am, but OKC got to make a shot. Like,
yeah, PG's hurt.
I know PG's hurt, but nobody else is making shots. Terrence Ferguson's not making shots. Jeremy Grant's not making shots. Russell Westbrook's not making shots. Somebody got to make a shot. Off the bench, you got Raymond Felton. They gotta find some other options. But as far as coaching goes, Billy Donovan, in my opinion, you have to get guys like Russell Westbrook and Paul George in situations that they will succeed because we're looking at Russell Westbrook over and over again settle for threes. He's like a 20-something% 3-point shooter. Put him on the block. Put him not below block, but I'm saying like high post. Have him face up against Lillard, and then they have to help. And then his guy can cut, and he can hit the corner, and he can drive and get a layup. Because this guy's gonna help. But we got to find out other ways to score.
Yeah, they got to. I mean, Schrader was played 21 minutes. You know, Paul had 27 in that game. They got to get Schrader into the game a little bit more, either at the point. And this is, again, I mean, I think this happened with Scott Brooks when he was there. There are times when you got to bring somebody, and you can do this with Schrader because he's been a starting point guard. Let him run the point, push Rush to 2. Because Rush playing 2 don't hurt you as much as Rush playing point. I know they've been doing a little bit more, and have Schrader, Russ, and PG on the court, and let Schrader run a little bit more. I think you got to do that because he's not scared to take the ball and score with it, and not worried about not giving the ball to Russ because they got to get a little bit more balanced in their scoring attack.
Yeah, one thing I was gonna say after that is when Hank said that these teams look like they don't like each other, it's true. They don't like each other because during the season, OKC swept the Portland Trailblazers. They won every game, all 4 of them.
Yep. And
I remember one of the games for sure. Russell Westbrook told Damian Lillard, "I've been busting your ass for years." Look at him.
All right. Yes. I want to ask y'all a question. Is Brooklyn in the house?
On the list of it, no.
But they getting whooped tonight, boy. But this series has been interesting. I mean, Brooklyn was one of them teams that came out the gate, and they shocked Toronto off the front, and I was like, oh, here we go again. What I'm saying from Philly off the beginning, you know, and had Philly on the ropes. Toronto's an interesting team because I think they got some great players, but they still need Lowry at some point to just be that finisher. I'm saying, I keep going back to Toronto. What I'm saying, let me go back to Philadelphia. Sorry about that. I'm getting my head together. I had this whole thing all written out. Start this over again. the thing about it is Ben Simmons, that's what I want to talk about, point guard position. Ben has to be a poor man version of Giannis. He's a liability. And then you got Embiid, who is playing hurt, playing strong, not quite knowing where he's going, and Harris. So when they cooking, they cooking. Obviously, they cooking a little bit tonight, but they look shaky and immature too. So I don't, there's a lot going on with this Philly team, with Brooklyn being an up-and-coming team. How are y'all seeing this series? I'll go with you, Darnell.
Okay, first of all, I got to disagree about this Ben Simmons being a liability, because he's only a liability in certain situations. Like you can scheme around his lack of shooting, but obviously in today's NBA, you want to have a guy that can shoot. But regardless his size, athleticism, and passing ability, you should run the offense through Ben Simmons. Because if he's attacking the basket at full speed, he's drawing open. Because everybody else on the team can shoot. If he's the only one that can't shoot. Tobias Harris can shoot. J.J. Redick can shoot. Jimmy Butler can hit an open shot. Joel Embiid can hit an open shot. So he's the only one that really can't shoot. So if he's the one at the top of the key attacking, he opens up looks for everybody else. So I don't believe he's necessarily a liability. He just has to be more aggressive.
They are, and the thing about it is, what I saw in these two games is a tale of two teams with Philly. You're absolutely right. As far as the discipline thing, they got to know what they do. Okay, they got to stay in their lanes. In game one, Joel Embiid, okay, the biggest, like you said, biggest low post threat in the league. Why are you out on the arc? Okay, I watched him come down 3 times and he taking shots out at a 3-point line. That doesn't open up nothing. Okay, if you're hurt and you can't take it to the hole, you don't need to be out there.
Yeah, he didn't play
game
today.
2, huh?
He didn't play today.
He didn't play today.
He
played in game 2. Okay, game 2 he's on the post. He's on the blocks.
Yeah.
Okay, when he's on the blocks, guess what? They blow the doors off. The problem with Philadelphia is the same problem they had last year, and I think we hit on it. Is that lack of maturity. Sometimes what you see is they kind of get out of themselves and start trying to do other stuff. And this is what happens in a team, that, again, another scrappy team like a Brooklyn, all right, can exploit that. Now, you start going up a little bit further into the playoffs where teams that kind of understand what their identity is. This is what happened when Philadelphia played Boston last year. They find out what their identity is. These teams that know what their identity is, they start playing to that strength, and this team is done in 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, just back what you were saying, Darnell. I mean, tonight, Ben Simmons had 31
points, 11 for 13 shooting.
Yep, and so part of it's because the floor. They probably just opened the floor up. You don't have Embiid there. He might not necessarily even been in the block, but you open it up. He almost probably playing like Giannis tonight. I bet you, without us necessarily seeing this. And you had Harris with 29 and Redick with 26 and Butler with 16. So, I mean, they're obviously playing at a little faster pace probably. And if you got somebody like that, 6'10", with a faster pace, get up and down the floor with those guys, that becomes a different kind of game. Let's get to this other team. Playoff Kyrie. We all know who he is. Let's get to this. Youngin talked about him early on, talked about Boston. Game 2, they put together a run. I mean, Indiana, another team without a star. Star's hurt. I think they got another guy down, and these cats are battling. They battling, but they ain't got no closers. The way they closed that game out was crazy, but Kyrie was Kyrie. But then they had a run without Kyrie when they were down to close it. Kyrie came in and closed the game, basically closed the game out, but you still had, the contributions down the stretch. So it seemed like they starting to find a rhythm, especially with Kyrie kind of playing this 2-guard role. We go to you, Darnell. What's your impressions about the Celtics? They're up 2-0 on Indiana. What's your thought about how they're evolving versus?
I think they're coming into form, and if they continue to gel together, I think they can possibly win it all, in my opinion. Because I'm looking at it, obviously Milwaukee's going to be a problem. Obviously, you got the Warriors in the West, of course. But with the way the Warriors have been actually, you know what? It's just one game. So the Warriors are still the Warriors, so they're going to be the favorite still. But I can possibly see the Celtics winning it all because when push comes to shove, the Celtics can legit go 10 deep. And all of them, and there are so many people that can get hot at any moment. You have Kyrie, you have Jason Tatum, you have Gordon Hayward. Terry Rozier can get off. He can get off. Like you have so many different moving factors. We've seen what happens when Joel Embiid goes against Al Horford. Al Horford seems like he might not be the most physically imposing guy, but it seems like he just knows what to do when he goes against when he goes up against Embiid. So I think they have what it takes, especially if a team that is in the West can knock off the Warriors. Like if Houston knocks off the Warriors, I think the Boston Celtics, I think they match up exceptionally well with Houston.
Yeah. So, and Hank, before I go to you, the one thing I think I would react to that is they have a lot of players. They have all the players you said, but a lot of it's about the continuity and the chemistry in the roles. And what I saw yesterday was the two best players down. You got to have closers. Is really Tatum and Kyrie. Like there's other guys who can hit shots, but those two at this point are the ones in this season are going to really, if they can get to the fact that they're okay with those two being the closers, they're going to be fine. Doesn't mean that the ball won't go into other people's hands. Hayward, like you said, Hayward's been there, but Hayward's still recovering. I think what you saw yesterday, and I think
Hayward's coming back.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, you got to make a decision. And to me, it's Tatum and Kyrie. If they decide that those are the closers, that's what I think was so great about the sequence in the last 5 minutes for them. The two guys making plays really were Tatum and Kyrie. And I think if they can get an understanding that those are the two cats who can take them to the promised land, because they're going to give the people the most fits. They're the ones who can – they're not straight line drivers. They can get people – they can adjust when people – Tatum is, I think, Tatum was the best player down the stretch for them last year, and I think finding a role. So I like how that's shaping together if they can accept it. And I think part of what helped a little bit was the injury, because I think it allowed for a little bit more breathing room in terms of people and how they could do rotations and playing time. So he might have to shorten on somebody, to be able to get that right mix. And I'm not sure if he's ready to make those kind of decisions, but I know those two are the closers when I watch him right now. Hank, what's your thoughts?
My thought is this is the team in Boston that we hope we was going to see some of last year before all the injuries hit. And I think that, and I kind of go with Darnell here. I think Hayward is going to be fine. He's still recovering, but this series is going to help you. And Kyrie was hurt last year too. So now you're starting to see where last year's playoff team is starting to benefit. This team is benefiting from last year's playoff team, because you started to talk about players like Rozier who took roles last year, and now you've got Kyrie back, you've got Hayward back, okay, to try to work out, and Tatum, you're starting to work out, what's going to go on down the stretch. And you're absolutely right. They are right now one of the most talented teams in the East, okay? And this is a good series for them. As far as Indiana's concerned, without Oladipo, you don't, like I said, you don't have anything there that scares you. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, because he was doing his thing last season. Yeah. So now, you got Kyrie back, and Kyrie got something to prove.
Yeah.
Right. He's got something to prove. He's been there with Boston, and he's really just been another name. Okay. But now he's healthy. He's feeling good. He's got something to prove. I think you're going to see that Kyrie we saw with Cleveland that was making those ridiculous clutch shots down the stretch. And that's what I'm looking to see here.
What I didn't have to on here is we talk about fear the deer, but we got to fear the beard. Houston's coming along. My goodness. In rotations, how they playing.
Defense.
They're dismantling Utah.
Defense.
Defense. I mean, Harden playing defense.
Houston is playing defense.
Clint Capella. Oh, my God.
Clint Capella. I mean, the whole crew. This team, if you would have told me 2 months ago, I'm like, they just look like they struggling. But now, and even Chris Paul is not at 100%. It don't feel like he's totally integrated, which is great. I mean, but
yeah.
James Harden is playing winning basketball.
Yes, he is.
And I'm just saying like that. I mean, he's got Utah so rattled that they play him on one side.
Yeah.
Some stuff I ain't never seen. Not even on the pickup basketball court. Darnell, what should be have you been impressed with Houston?
Oh, I love it. But the first thing I gotta say is we always talk about James Harden being the prolific scorer that he is, the great ball handler, the step back, the Euro step. But one thing that often goes unnoticed is I'm not sure if we have a better, more crafty passer in the game today than James Harden.
Yes.
I see, a lot of times he's going this way, he's changing, going against the grain, against his body, cross body, throwing a floater 10 feet up in the air, it seemed like, and Capella comes out of nowhere and dunks it. It seemed like that's a very underrated part of his game. He's a great playmaker.
You listen to RSG One Mic. To close out the Cypher segment, ain't no half-stepping because this season you better not half-step. There's somebody not going to make it. There's going to be upsets because it's just ready-made this year. People have – some of these teams like Portland and some of these other cats in Denver, we're about to get to them, are tired of being tired. They tired of people talking junk. Russ, leave Dame Dash alone. Leave Dame Dollar alone. You better leave him alone. Now, this last one on here is Pop being Pop. This Spurs Denver matchup is so interesting because you got a team, and this is why I'll say it's interesting. Y'all know at the end of the season of the Western Conference, the stuff was going up and down. Like those last few games really mattered. I don't know if you have a chance to watch it, but I love about this NBA pass. But I watched, I think this might only be a regular one, Washington against Denver in Denver. Denver was up like 20-something points on Washington. Really needed this victory. And I watched Washington come back on them hard. And I saw some immaturity in Denver. And Jokic was getting frustrated and a lot of stuff. I'm like, man, I saw they match up against the Spurs. I'm like, that's the worst team for Denver. Mm-hmm. I'm like, they could have been matched up with anybody else but the Spurs because Popovich ain't going to just lie down. He going to find a way to craft something up. And so this series has been so interesting because the funniest thing about it was Aldridge went low on him and hit Gary Harris in a way that was had him coughing. I mean, it's been so many things have just happened in this series. These two big men, Jokic and LaMarcus. You got these role players you got to figure out with Millsap and Rudy Gay. Barton has been struggling. They were booing him. And so how these cats who have been, basically running game in the West now run into this little bit of adversity. Denver seems kind of fragile. What do you make of this series? I don't even know what to make of this series. This is going to be a tough one for them because this is a growth series for them. And they're going to get a test by, a guy who's a coach who knows how to push the right buttons. Let me go with you, Hank.
Well, listen, you're talking about a veteran, okay? Greg Popovich. You're talking about a great veteran who knows how to coach in the playoffs, okay? Basketball is an interesting sport, and I figured this out a long time ago, that the 82 games you play to get to the playoffs, all right, you can't really use that as a gauge, all right? You can't use that as a gauge because the teams that know how to win in the playoffs and the coaches who know how to coach in the playoffs, they know how to switch the game over, okay? They know how to switch it around. You'll see some teams that on paper, you'll just say, wait a minute, this team is just more immensely talented than that team. And this should be a walkover, 5-6 games. But what you don't factor in is that intangible of this coach knowing how to coach a discipline in the playoffs, have seen it all, knows how to develop his players for playoffs the entire season. This is Greg Popovich. And as you said, you got a young Denver team that you can say on paper, much more talented than this Spurs team, okay? Save a couple of players. And yet, don't be surprised if Pop and the Spurs don't walk away with this. Okay.
Yeah, because if you'd have without a big time fourth quarter performance from Murray, they down 0-2.
They down 0-2. They down 0-2.
I still got the Spurs winning this series.
I do. Yeah, I think they will win the series.
So Darnell, talk to me why you got the Spurs winning this series. Because Hank's made some good points. Darnell, why?
First of all, coaching, of course. But second of all, Hank hinted at that on paper that Denver is the more talented team. And in my opinion, that's not the case. Because who was the best player in the series? Many people say Jokic, but Jokic doesn't necessarily impose his will in the game. So I say DeRozan. DeRozan is the best, he's the best, I wouldn't say closer, but he can get his shot off better than anybody else. And then they still have LaMarcus Aldridge, Rudy Gay. They have guys that can play. They're not like a team that's just going to roll over. And on top of that, they have Greg Popovich, the best coach in the game. They have, like we said earlier when we were talking about a team that knows their role, that is a team that we know in San Antonio, because you have guys that
exactly
unheralded, like the point guard, Derico Wright from Colorado.
Yeah,
he's been playing very well for a guy that's not really known as much as he is, but he's playing very well, and especially if they had DeJounte Murray, if he never got hurt, that would be a no-brainer for me. But I still think San Antonio will take it.
And you got to think about this. Think about what Popovich was this time last year. You think about his wife. You think about the stuff he was going through with just the whole situation about why am I losing my mind right now? Our young man who went to Toronto.
DeMar DeRozan. Yeah.
The trade with DeRozan and everybody, and how DeRozan was feeling coming to the Spurs, and just like the Spurs organization was under siege by everybody. But I got a feeling he's the happiest he's ever been coaching in a long time. You look at this team, he loves coaching this team. In some ways, he's settled in. Think about, in some ways, it turned when he sat down and had that meal with LaMarcus, and I think LaMarcus is in a really good place. It's been interesting to watch, where we are right now. This is like a 180 of where he was last year. You hear a word about San Antonio all year, climate issues. It feels like, it's kind of like they got their vibe back. They had to they had to shed and then rebuild, regrowth. And it feels like, everybody is playing with a chip on their shoulder and building community. DeRozan feel like people think that he wasn't good enough. They had to upgrade, so he's happy to be there, and Pop is working with him. It's just been interesting to watch that team. And I hadn't really even paid attention to them after they were in the middle of the news all last year.
Right.
Everything. And, Popovich, and that's the dangerous part about Popovich. Don't get him in a space with guys he likes, with all the other stuff out the way, where he can just focus on coaching. I think he's beginning, for him, this is his outlet. You lose somebody like that so close to you. This is a place that, it's a family environment for him. So that's a very dangerous place for a team like Denver, who is still learning what it means to win. It ain't enough in the regular season. This playoff thing is a whole new kind of way.
Exactly.
Ball. Exactly. They probably got more talent on that side, but they don't have the gate. They don't have the scars like some of these cats got. And who hungry and who can play. And so and want to remind people they can play. So this is great. We're gonna keep tracking this NBA thing. This has been a great conversation. Sorry that I was a little rugged on a couple of those guys. Y'all hung with me. I'm recovering, y'all, but y'all hung with me, kept me in there. I'll be better next time. But we cannot close this show out without my man Hank here to drop the mic. So drop the mic, Hank.
All right, thank you. So this week, April 15th, Everybody know about April 15th, right? First thing that come to your mind is tax day. You know, I got to hurry up and get these W-2s in, get this coin. I done waited around to the last minute to do that. But I'm not here to talk about your taxes. I'm not here to talk about your income. I'm here to talk about an event that happened some 72 years ago on April 15th. 72 years ago, 1947. And that is the opening day of the 1947 season, and Mr. Jackie Robinson stepped on the field. For the first time, a black man stepped on the field in the Major League Baseball uniform, number 42, commemorated every year since 2004 by Major League Baseball, that commemorates the breaking of the color barrier in Major League Baseball because of Mr. Jackie Robinson, who, by the way, this year turned 100 years old. 100 years old this year. Because of what he did 72 years ago on a baseball field in Brooklyn, New York, you now have other players that you can think about that has now transcended decades. Your Hank Aaron's, your Willie Mays', your Frank Robinson, who passed away this year, Roberto Clemente, Reggie Jackson, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds, Derek Jeter, and Mookie Betts. Some of the greatest names right now in baseball, men of color, because one man, 72 years ago, on the field in Brooklyn, New York, stepped out there and played second base, number 42. On Monday and on Sunday, baseball, all the baseball teams in all of America wore number 42 in remembrance of Mr. Jackie Robinson. On Sunday night, you had the Cincinnati Reds play the Los Angeles Dodgers in Dodger Stadium. Why was that so significant? Because Major League Baseball is also celebrating this year 150 years of organized ball. And the Cincinnati Reds were the first team to play Major League Baseball 150 years ago. And it took almost 75 years for the first black man to step on the field after baseball was first established. So tonight, I just want to take a moment to say thank you, Jackie Robinson. Thank you, baseball, for acknowledging this and keeping it real. So April 15th, don't just think about your taxes. Think about what's happened some 7 decades ago. Peace.